This is KGW News at noon.
Thank you for joining us. I'm Nina Melhoff, filling in for Brenda Braxton today. The man shot several times by Vancouver police officers yesterday has died. We just got that update within the last hour. This cell phone video shows what happened yesterday near East 4th Plain Boulevard and Northeast Stapleton Road. Vancouver police say two men were fighting there on the sidewalk, and when they arrived, one of them was on the ground unconscious. The other man was holding some type of sharp object in his hand, and police say when he refused to put it down and started walking toward an officer, he was shot several times. His name nor the officers involved have been released yet. Now to the coronavirus crisis. President Trump is ordering meat and poultry plants to stay open despite a string of COVID-19 cases among workers. Here's Tracy Potts.
Insisting the worst is behind us, President Trump is using the Defense Production Act to order meat and poultry plants hit hard by the coronavirus to stay open.
They're having a liability that's really unfair to them.
More than a dozen plants have closed because of COVID-19 among their workers. One union says 20 employees have died. The president's order provides more protective gear, but workers fear it's not enough. They want daily testing.
People are dying every day, but yet and still he wants people to go into these facilities where they know people have tested positive.
The Senate's back in Washington next week, but the House reversed course and decided not to return after the Capitol physician cited a rise in COVID-19 cases in the nation's capital.
We had no choice but to take that advice and continue to work from home.
Lawmakers ready to consider the next round of funding, including money for cash-strapped states.
We're not interested in rescuing badly run states from the mistakes they've made, completely unrelated to the coronavirus.
Vice President Pence drew criticism for visiting the Mayo Clinic without a mask.
And since I don't have the coronavirus, I thought it'd be a good opportunity for me to be here, to be able to speak to these researchers, these incredible healthcare personnel, and look them in the eye and say thank you.
Coronavirus has now infected more than 1 million Americans. The death toll over 58,000, surpassing Vietnam. That number could rise over 74,000 by August, according to one computer model. The president tweeted about these numbers overnight, saying the 1 million cases recorded in the U.S. reflect more and better testing. Tracy Potts, NBC News.
Another hit to the country's economy. According to government numbers released today, the gross domestic product has fallen by 4.8% in our first quarter. That's consumer spending, and it drives around 2/3 of economic growth. It has also plummeted. The GDP decline is at its worst level since the fourth quarter of the 2008 financial crisis. In a few hours, we're expecting to get an update on Washington's COVID-19 response. Governor Jay Inslee will hold a press conference today at 2:30. His office says we could see an extension of his stay-at-home order that's set to expire on Monday. You can watch the live stream on KGW.com and our social pages. Meantime, we have an update on the number of cases in the Northwest. Almost 14,000 people in Washington are infected. In total, over 182,000 have been tested. 786 have died. In Oregon, there are over 2,300 positive cases. That's out of more than 52,000 tests. 99 people have died. Earlier this week, President Trump said the federal government will work with the private sector to ramp up testing in hotspots and among vulnerable groups. Yesterday, our Kristen Severance spoke with NBC News medical contributor Joseph Fair and asked if the president's plan goes far enough to help reopen our economy.
I don't think it'll go far enough for, really widespread reopening, but it's definitely an improvement over what we have currently. And, those most vulnerable populations and the urban, densely populated urban hubs are going to presumptively be and have been historically where we do see the highest rates of transmission. So, it's a wise move. The public-private partnerships, that's very smart to get the type of testing we need down to, say, the pharmacy level and have this to be as easy, for COVID-19 to have it be as easy as walk into a pharmacy and say buy a pregnancy test or a home drug test, that type of thing. We would like the testing for COVID-19 to be that easy at some point in the future. But realistically, I think we're anywhere from 6 to 8 months to being away from there, both commercially and to have the actual physical amount of tests that we need out to the public.
Well, Oregon is now testing more than 2,300 people a day. Earlier this month, Governor Kate Brown outlined her plan for reopening the state's economy, and she says expanding testing capacity is key. We also need to increase our supply of PPE, trace the contacts of people who are infected, and quarantine those who get sick. So how are more rural areas doing with testing? Well, we spoke with the public health administrator for Wasco, Gilliam, and Sherman counties. And so far, she says Wasco is doing well with testing.
In Gilliam and Sherman counties, things are a little more difficult. We've had some difficulty getting them enough tests. And so we'll be looking probably to be able to implement more point of care testing, like the rapid tests when those come out in those rural clinics.
She says all 3 counties might be able to open up in a month. The public health director for Malheur County tells us they could be ready to open up in 3 to 4 weeks. Well, despite Washington opening up state parks next Tuesday, Oregon is now extending its closure. The Parks Department says it'll remain closed past the previous May 8th end date. They have not set a new date for opening. Parks shut down at the end of March after crowds packed some of the most popular areas. Any camping or day use reservations have now been canceled through May 25th. That's Memorial Day weekend. A spokesman told the Oregonian state parks will not reopen all at once. Instead, decisions will be made on a case-by-case basis. All right, now to shopping, and new at noon. If you shop at Costco, you now got to wear a face mask next week. Costco says all shoppers have to wear them starting Monday, May 4th. People who can't wear them because of a medical condition and children under 2 years old are exempt from the rule. Costco is the latest company to require face masks to help slow the spread of COVID-19. New season's face mask policy officially started today. Those who are self-employed, along with gig workers and independent contractors, can now get unemployment benefits in Oregon. These workers typically don't pay into unemployment and aren't usually eligible, but the benefits are coming from the Federal CARES Act. The same program will also make benefits available to people who can't work because they're sick or caring for a sick family member. Well, looking for work, boy, it is a challenge right now. During our live Q&A webcast tomorrow, we'll be speaking with a career counselor and a retail specialist about how to succeed in a tough job market. Our newest KGW anchor and reporter, Galen Etlin, will moderate the conversation and take your questions. The webcast starts at noon tomorrow on KGW.com and our social pages. Portland is looking to limit car traffic on some city streets to help with social distancing during the pandemic. So it plans to reconfigure 100 miles of roads around the city and close them off to cars, or at least reduce traffic if a full closure isn't possible. They haven't named what streets will be altered, so there's no map to look at just yet. But they have been installing temporary barriers on city greenways so far. Those are the quiet residential streets frequently used for walking and biking, and they're already designed to be low traffic areas.
I just see this as a great opportunity for a public education campaign to just remind everyone these are slow neighborhood streets that are meant to be shared with different types of road users and shouldn't be used for through traffic.
The goal is to create space so physical distancing is easier for those walking and biking. We're told the streets will return to normal when restrictions ease up, but the city could be planning more permanent changes to spots where there are no actual sidewalks.